How are you?
Good, good. Come on in.
Thank you. And how are you?
Good, very good.
Good. But how long have you been creating all these wonderful paintings?
Yeah, since I moved to the United States, which is like 19 years ago, I started painting animals all of a sudden. Before that, it was landscapes, and so I went deeply into animals, and we have a few kind of hanging around here,
Yes.
and I just love putting a lot of expression into the eyes, so people who view the painting can connect with the eyes of the animal and feel their connection to the animal and the compassion. We love our vegan lifestyle. It's the greatest thing to be vegan, and it's so delicious, so freeing, and we just love nature, animals, the water, the air, and it's much less polluting.
Could you tell us more about your book, The World Peace Diet, please?
Sure, yeah, this is what it looks like, and the cover is done by Madeline. And the World Peace Diet was a #1 Amazon bestseller a few months back. And so the basic idea in the World Peace Diet is that if we live a life of kindness and compassion, not only for other human beings, but for all living beings, for animals and for future generations and for the environment, then we will be worthy, really, we will mature and be able to create a world where we can live together in harmony and peace with freedom and joy and sustainability. So the basic idea is to encourage people to move toward a more plant-based diet, to question eating meat and dairy and eggs, because what I figured out is that we only do that because of the programming from our culture, from our parents and teachers and the corporations and the government and all of that. But it's really not in our best interest, because it's not good for our health to eat a lot of meat and dairy and eggs, or really eat any. And it's not good for the environment. It's not good for hungry people who, like Madeline said, are starving because we're feeding most of the grain to animals, and then we kill the animals and while people are starving. And it's not good for the workers who have to do this terrible work of killing animals. So it's just a great thing to move toward a more plant-based diet. And we've been vegans for many years, a long time, like 30 years. And it's just a great way to live. It's much smaller environmental footprint, which is a big thing for us. We have solar panels on the roof, and we try to live with a very small eco footprint, so that we're not harming the earth and using a lot of water, using a lot of energy, using a lot of land, creating a lot of pollution. We try to, Americans, we use so much land and water and pollution, and we really destroy the earth and destroy the lives of other human beings and animals, because we are big consumers. We're consuming, and eating meat and dairy is the biggest, worst consuming thing anyone can do. It's the worst thing for the oceans, for the rainforests. We go down and visit in South America, and we see how the rainforests are getting cut down and the forests are being cut down. And we travel all over this country, slowly moving around, and we see how forests have been cut down here to grow huge monocropped fields of corn and soybeans that are polluted. They're genetically engineered. They're sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and all kinds of toxic fertilizer and so forth, and then fed to animals. And this kills the birds and the fish and the wildlife and the insects, and pollutes, and all the sewage is very polluting. So it's a very crazy system. I mean, it makes no sense. It's really insane, actually, what we're doing. We're cutting down over 1 acre per second of rainforest to grow grain to feed animals while people are starving, and destroying, and we're making whole species go extinct. Right now we're losing many species every single day because we're cutting down rainforests and destroying habitat, and the oceans are being completely depleted of fish, because we're not only catching fish for people, but we're catching fish to feed all these animals. Cows are eating as much fish as human beings are, to make them fatten up and also to make them give more milk. So it's a system that makes a lot of money for a few people, and makes people quite unhealthy, which again makes money for the pharmaceutical industry and other large corporations, but it's not healthy for us and for animals and for future generations. And the beauty is any one of us can question this and find out, go on the internet or just do your own research, read the World Peace Diet, look at Madeleine's paintings, and look at the animals and see these animals are not just things, they're not just objects that are pieces of meat, they're actually beings, dogs, cats, horses, humans. I mean, we're all cows, chickens, and we're all animals in a sense that are living on this planet, and
they have feelings also.
And have feelings, right? They have feelings and have yearnings and can suffer. So we know we wouldn't want to have done to us what we're doing to them.
Exactly.
So that's, I think, the key. And we find it's just a beautiful thing for people, for relationships. We find people when they go vegan, they're more loving, they get along better, they're less irritated. It's just a much more peaceful way to live.
You have a house in Vilcabamba, Ecuador. So could you let us know, I'm from Ecuador, so I'm very excited about and curious about what you have to say about that specific area that have scientists, scientists travel from all over the world to try to find out the secrets of this longevity. So
Right.
could you tell us?
Well, just briefly, Vilcabamba, we heard about it because of that, and because we have some family members that have moved down to Ecuador. But we found out about Vilcabamba because it's very famous. It's this little valley, people probably don't know, in the southern part of Ecuador near Peru, where people seem to live over 100 years old and for a long time. And so they think it's a combination perhaps of the beautiful water that comes from the Andes Mountains. It's got lots of minerals that are very healthy in the right proportion, and the people are also breathing very healthy air. There's the trees are really good, and they're living lives that don't have a lot of stress. And really, especially before the Western corporations came in, like Coca-Cola now unfortunately comes in and brings a truck every week and to Vilcabamba, but I think, so things have started changing, unfortunately, but originally, people worked hard, they gardened, they were farmers, they lived simple lives, they grew their own food, they ate their own food, they didn't need any money, they didn't need to buy anything, they were happy people living simple lives with strong communities and grew their own food, and it's a very nice climate. It's about 5,000 feet, so it's in the 70s year-round, and I think just being happy and having a strong community connections is really what it is to be a human being. I mean, why are we here? We're not here to fight and achieve and compete. We're here, I think, really to do in many ways what they were doing, which is to have good families and grow our own food and be creative. And so I think there's something for us to learn from that example. Well, I think it's very telling that most people, when Madeleine and I talk about this, we can talk about how important it is to have peace. Everybody goes, yes. How important it is to be kind and compassionate to others. Everybody goes, yes, yes. Then we say, and we shouldn't be harming and killing animals and eating them for food. And they go, don't talk about that. So people are basically, I understand it. We're so indoctrinated and programmed to think that animals are just put here by God for us to eat, that we don't think that there's any karma in our violence. But there is. I mean, every spiritual teacher has acknowledged that when you harm a sentient being, you harm yourself more than you harm them, because we have to harden ourselves and disconnect from our natural compassion, and we create whole systems of violence and domination that not only harm the animals, they harm us. We create psychological suffering and all kinds of diseases and cultural violence that goes along with it, inequality and exploitation and oppression of women and of other people, of ecosystems, of other nations. I mean, all this comes from people who have learned to, through meals every single day, have learned to disconnect from seeing beings as beings and see beings just as things, and learn at a deep level to think in terms of privilege and elitism and domination and exploitation and exclusion and especially the domination of the feminine dimension. I talk about that in the World Peace Diet quite a bit, because I think this feminine dimension that we all have, which nurtures life, is very repressed by forcing children to eat meat and dairy products. And these animals, especially the female animals, are very abused. But we don't, we cover it up, but anyone can go on the internet and just look at some of the undercover videos, and see what happens to cows on dairies, to hens on egg production facilities, to pigs on, these factory farms for meat. And there's no way to kill an animal humanely. I mean, it's all violence. And there is, I never use the word karma, but it is. It's the universal teaching that whatever you sow, you're going to reap. We all know that. I mean, we think we can get away with this. We think we can somehow plant corn and seeds and get, carrots coming up. It's not going to happen. We're planting violence and misery.
It's a law, yeah.
Back. Right, it's a law. I mean, we should grow up, I think, and realize that.
So what do you think about the same subject?
Yeah, I think Will tells it really right, poignant, really. I think it's so sad to go out there and see the rivers polluted, because we love to swim, and fish have the right to have clean water to swim around and not to die because of pollution, and to have clean air and everything. And we can really change. We can change our habits of eating and get this beautiful earth back with all its health.
Right, and I think also what Madeleine is saying is that there's, it's possible, but there's a sense, I think, of healthy urgency. It's healthy. I mean, if we see the world being in many ways destroyed environmentally, we see the economic systems that are so unhealthy that we have so many people just literally starving or right on the edge of existence, while others have so much more than they know what to do with, that and we see species going extinct and this kind of devastation, that it's a sense of being alive and healthy. We don't have to be angry and fight people, but to just encourage each other to question what we've been doing and to do something positive. And that's why I love vegetarianism and especially veganism, because it's not so much about criticizing. It's not about criticizing. It's about doing something positive. It's about being loving and kind and compassionate and caring and healthy and living a life as a celebration and being joyful and looking. What it really is, I think, essentially is radical inclusion. It's saying I'm no longer going to exclude anyone from the sphere of my kindness and compassion and concern. And that's all it is. It's just saying I'm going to include other human beings, hungry people, all animals, future generations, all beings within the sphere of my compassion. And we find that when we live that way, it's not only better for others, it's really better for ourselves. I mean, we are much happier when we're living that way, and we feel more connected to the beauty of this earth. And the more we do it, the more we just love life and love all animals and all people. And love is ultimately the only power. And the revolution that we're yearning for is a revolution of love. And veganism is nothing to be proud of. It's not anything, we're not in any way any better than anyone. It's basically just coming home to our own heart and looking with eyes that see beings rather than seeing things. We're taught by our culture to see a thing. We see a pig, we say, oh, that's a piece of meat. That is a very violent seed that's planted in us ritually by being, eating bacon and ham and cheese and eggs. So we have to question that and see a being when we see a being, and then we naturally respect and love them, and then we have respect for ourselves.